Some stories are heard, others become legendary. Welcome to the Becoming Legendary podcast, hosted by Ana Rita Valente, the visibility architect and the fame activator. Real stories, raw conversations, legendary impact.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Ana Rita Valente, and this is Becoming Legendary. I have been always complaining about the name Becoming Legendary because my last guests are all legendary. So I'm kind of having an issue, and who's watching is fed up of listening to me to start like this. But okay, Matt, Matt or Matthew?
Matt. Yep, Matt's good.
Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
I am amazing.
Good.
I am amazing. When you do what you love, you never work one day in your life, even
Right.
though if you work 20 hours a day. And if you, yesterday I answered 64 people's home
Wow.
and record 7 podcasts.
Wow.
But at the same time, I found my home, and that is really good. Ah, this is about you.
Okay.
So I'm going to make myself as silly as possible.
hmm
Are you a legendary?
Well, I don't view
That
my
was a very hardcore question
uh,
to.
not really for me. I view I don't, you know, what is
No.
legendary? Legendary is in the eye of the beholder, right? And I don't really worry too
Mhm.
much about what other people think I am or I'm not. But
Yes.
I think I've had a quite extraordinary life. I've done a lot of things that I really could never even relate to people. From meeting presidents and doing being participating in historic events um, at the lowest level, tactical level, and at the highest level, strategic level. I've seen things and done things that really could never even really explain. So for me, that's enough.
I was very nasty with this question. I never did open with this question. Normally I ask, who are you? But in my opinion, and the story of becoming legendary comes from me uh, getting someone, some silly doctor told me then I had 3 months of life. And I was wondering, I will always work with visibility. I work on TV, and I was wondering, how can you never die? And that comes the story becoming legendary. So, but the true legendary person will answer as you. You did live 1,000 lives. So, from where you want to start?
Well, a good place to start might be so if you had a close call like that, you definitely relate to my song Bonus Time. So you ought to check it out and then let me know what you think after you listen to it. But that's a song about close calls and surviving close calls and realizing that the rest of your time on Earth is borrowed time. Um, and that's really a good song for me to, it was the first one that I released on Spotify, and it's a song about gratitude. So I think that would match well
I
with what you
I
just
I I make
experienced.
music as well, so we have that in
Okay,
common.
there you
Um,
go.
and yeah, I have one about becoming legendary, and it's exactly about they can take all of you, the car, the
hmm
house, the bank accounts, froze, um, the name, the passport, you name it. I'm a digital nomad, so the passport is my life.
Right,
The phone, but they will never take the scars, the memories,
right.
and who you really are. And that for me is becoming legendary. And I think then if you have close calls, if you have trauma, if you have all these kind of things, and when we arrive to a certain age, we all collect. And we keep smiling and asking each other, how was your day?
Right.
and having a blast to have the opportunity of two people who could be doing any other thing with their day, being here together, talking,
Yep.
that is cool enough. Now, what do you do?
Right now, my songwriting career is kind of more of a second, I wouldn't say a hobby. It's pretty serious, but it's not my primary source of duties every day. I work as a fractional general counsel, advisor, consultant to a variety of different companies, kind of different types of general counsel roles, I would say, for different companies
I'm
and
totally
businesses.
lost what that means because you said so many different things. And don't forget, I'm not American. So,
Right.
okay, so basic, you help companies to achieve something. Is that
Yes, correct. I help solve their problems. I help solve
okay?
their compliance and legal risk problems.
Hmm.
But it's much broader than that, in my view. It's helping them create the type of company and corporate environment and structure to achieve their performance goals, right? At the same time as doing it in a compliant manner. And it's a big part of what I try and try and help companies with is culture as well, right? That your people are your most important asset in anything you do in life. And that's one of the lessons that I think I've learned. And being in the military, that's, you can't do anything, especially as an officer in the military. You can't accomplish anything without your people. So that's a big part of what I bring to the table. It's a very different view than most lawyers, I would say. But that's what I do. Yep.
Um, I I think in United States we say thank you for your service,
Oh,
right?
well, my privilege. That's my response to that. And it's all very sincere. It was my honor to serve this country and to do the
And the
things I
world.
did. So yeah, well,
At
that's
least,
left
at
left
least I don't
right,
want to be, I don't want to go there, but at least
right.
you know, you know what I
Let
mean.
let other people decide whether it was an honor or not, but that's how I feel. So
Okay, that's
right,
we are on the same page.
Roger that.
Uh, um, what makes you jump out of the bed?
Hmm. Well, that I think that is the journey that's kept me going for all these years, and it's changed. It's always changed. But for me, what's always motivated me was having some type of purpose, right? And especially with some of the things that I did early on in my life, you kind of just box things up, put them on the shelf, and move on to the next challenge or next thing on your things to do. But I've always found great purpose in that. What is my next thing to do? And do the best I can at it and learn what I can from it and then move on. And so for me, that's how I've kind of escaped dealing with what's in those boxes, I think, at times. Um, yeah, for me, it's that's what gets me up in the morning, whatever it is. Um, maybe it's a particular challenge that I'm helping somebody solve, or maybe that day I'm really excited because I'm in a creative mood and I'm gonna, as you would do, right, write a new song or work on a new song or try and do something with that journey of mine. So that's really it.
Hmm.
What drives me is really my passion for leadership, I guess, is what you'd say. But that is teamwork. I thrive off of being part of a team. That's really where I thrive and work best.
You thrive being part of a team work. I was going to start doing a little bit more not so nice questions about that.
Okay.
I consider myself a problem solver.
Hmm.
I don't see problems, I see opportunities.
Right.
And that can be very if I know where we go or what is the goal, and sometimes the goal will change on on the journey, because on the
Hmm.
end, the valuable is the journey. I was talking yesterday with one coach about if it was possible to have ambition and inner peace, and we were talking about that. And I was international DJ for many years. COVID did hit, I became a coach. I am, I'm going to swear, I get shit done. If I tell you I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I, as everyone in 2020, um, I was having results, so I could tour the world because I was able to get visibility. So everyone was asking me, and I start by there. So I start by creating, teaching people with visibility, telling stories, how to not getting so attached to algorithms and to post every day, but more about the message and etc. That is what is valuable for me. I don't believe in all the other BS. Um, from there, I lost my Instagram account with the, and I became a holistic coach, and my holistic business grow fast. So all my holistic clients start asking me to be their business coach. Long story. I was always an entrepreneur, so it's not difficult for me. It's very hard for people who are used to work for other people. I was always only wolf. It's hard for me to delegate. So we are in different. I can be teammate 100%, but in certain things, in special in work, I'm learning.
Hmm.
But what I want to say with this is, I arrived to a moment in special on a business coaching and in special working with women 40 plus, in special from your country. And I'm not saying this is a negative thing. I'm just bringing all things together. I was being paid high tickets for us to put together a business so they could make money. And I realized a few things. One, being coach is not necessarily what I should do. Think I'm not doing anymore. I'm better being your teammate so we can go together and achieve. Because how it works for me, not necessarily will work for you. And there were people who were there on my inner circle, not because they did want to have a business. That was a dream that was not from there, from them. It was a dream from someone else. So, why people, it's a long story, why people complicate their life so much?
You're asking me that question?
Hmm.
Well, I'm not qualified to speak about what other people do or don't
No,
do.
but in
I'm really
general,
not. I'm not sure what you're referring to in that, but uh, to be honest, I'm not sure how to respond to that question. But yeah, teamwork to me is very different than I think what your experience what teamwork is. So it's when you're part of a combat team and you're literally relying upon people to do their job, and to do it not because you tell them to, not because you give them an order to do something, but because they understand the purpose, the importance, and they've been trained and they know they've been prepared to do it. Then leadership becomes something that's much more, selfless. It's not about what you get out of the teamwork relationship. It's just natural. It's trust. And most relationships and teamwork environments that I see in the civilian world and the corporate world, that's part of the frustration that I think a lot of veterans have is that it's not the same. You can't replicate a situation where lives are on the line and you're actually risking something that's real. The consequences are so much more real to you and permanent. And you can't replicate that in the business world. So the whole concept of teamwork becomes different. And for a lot of people who have experienced, whether it's, high level of competition of sports or other environments where you can have that great teamwork environment, but they're most prevalent in situations like military units and sports teams because that's where, it's true. There's consequences. It's real world. Um, it's really hard to replicate that. And so unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to appreciate it. And then after you've experienced it, you spend your whole life uh, trying to find it, trying to get that back. And there's a sense of camaraderie that comes with that. And you don't really ever match it. And that's kind of one of the things that you learn. You can't have that expectation. When you're coming out of uh, the service, you have these ideals and these beliefs about what teamwork means, for example, and what integrity is, and then you get smacked in the face with the real world, and the real world doesn't really have that same perspective. So that's
You did
yeah.
answer exactly to what I was asking, if even
Okay.
if, because what I mean is exactly that. Like, I think my resilience comes from losing a lot very young, or losing all very young,
Hmm.
as a little child. And as well, the other day I figured out then the courses teach me a lot, because I was that stubborn kid, was always riding the horse and were falling and was coming back, and not having anyone to save me, knowing then I was alone, was me or nothing. So it was really hard for me. I'm
Mm.
not comparing myself in any way to
No,
what is
everybody's
your
is different.
experience, but it was really hard for me to and I just come next to just do it, like
Mm.
just do it. There
Hmm.
is no another option.
Right.
And I my question, and where you totally did answer, and I cannot imagine, if it's frustrating for me, how hard must be for you navigating that it looks like, oh yeah, we are a team, but each person is thinking about the reel they watch on TikTok, or and it's
Or
not
their
like,
personal interests, right?
or
I mean,
we
that's
or we are together or we don't survive.
right. It's a different world. So that's the perspective. That's one of the things that you learn. I think if you ask me what I learned as a combat veteran that I saw in the corporate world that made me different, that really was a challenge, it was that perspective, and that consequences are real, and that leadership takes, you in corporate world, sometimes it's a liability to be genuine, right? You have to be
Mhm.
polished, right? You have to be polished, not genuine. But the truth is that anybody who's really been in an environment where leadership matters and consequences are real, you know, being genuine is the only way you get somebody to trust you. And if you don't have trust, then you can't be a leader. So I think that that's, one of the most important things that, it's hard to reconcile that when you're in the private sector, in the corporate world, but you have to figure out a way to reconcile that, because if you don't, then you can't get along. The way I did it, the way I reconciled that was by, focusing my roles and responsibilities not on the loyalty to the person above me necessarily. And maybe that hurt my career in certain ways. Maybe it left me with less opportunities, less networking opportunities, but I was always loyal to the mission, loyal to the company, to doing what's best for the company and its people. As I said before, you're nothing without people. As a combat soldier, especially as an officer, I owe everything to the soldiers. Without them, we can't accomplish the mission. And in some circumstances, without them, I'm not able to survive the mission. So it's it's that simple. And for many of us who've experienced that, it is that simple. But obviously it's not when it comes to the corporate world, right? So anyway, that's kind of my journey on it, on that, what I kind of learned and brought to the boardroom, or I use the boardroom term, broadly, right, to the corporate world. And
Mhm.
that's kind of, it's been a journey, that's for sure.
Mhm. How that opportunity did appear in your life after you return?
In the military.
And
Well,
after you start, how did you start helping corporate?
mhm. Yeah, so I was a soldier. That's all I ever wanted to do was be a soldier. And I had the opportunity. I wanted to be a recon soldier, and that's what I was. I was
What
an
is a recon soldier? Sorry. Oh,
reconnaissance,
okay. 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 Okay.
scouting out the
Scouting.
enemy
Mm-hmm.
and learning information about them. And I had the opportunity to my first combat deployment was in that role, and that's a very tactical, very difficult, very challenging environment. And then when I came back from that first deployment, I stayed in the Army for a while, but I went and got my graduate degree, and then I got a law degree on my own. I paid for it myself. I did it at night. And at some point while I was getting my law degree, I I left the military, but I stayed in what we call the reserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I left the military, you know, I got my law degree and I started doing consulting work. And then after I got my law degree, I went into a law firm and was working for a law firm advising companies on mergers and acquisitions mostly and joint ventures and different types of corporate arrangements and transactions and how to organize and structure corporations. So that's what kind of got me close to that business sector world. And that, after years of doing that, I also had to go back into the military after 9/11, and I did a couple more tours overseas back and forth. But that's what really opened up those doors for me is becoming a corporate lawyer. So the answer to the question is that's how I got exposed to corporations and leaders and Wall Street types and all the others who are now the people who I help serve and help them solve their problems.
I found so interesting then a person who decides to go, let me put in, it says as not a native language, but let me put it like this war detective, this person who goes and is like, it's the biggest dangers because you are going to get the information then your team needs. So I cannot imagine the courage and the bravery and how your adrenaline in your body, and it's like I have my full respect for
Oh,
that. And then go to something then when you are telling me corporate and etc., it's such a I was going to say boring, but it's such a different vibration. It's
very.
like it's totally two different people.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's the story of my journey, it's hard to kind of explain that paradox, but that's definitely been a part of who I am. It I enjoyed that. I wrestled in college. I was an athlete. So for me, that was an extension. It was becoming part of a team and a perform results oriented team where
Mhm.
consequences mattered. That's all I ever really wanted to do. But I always thought about things deeply. I always had kind of an intellectual side. I'm not sure how smart I am. That's for others to decide. But I always had that. And really, when I was at that point in my career, it was, what am I going to do if I get out of the Army? And at that point, I was considering leaving the Army, just wasn't having as much fun as I was having earlier on. And it was time for a new challenge, to be honest. And, my wife and I sat down and okay, maybe it's time to get a real job and become a grown up because I always was doing what I was enjoying doing. That's all I ever wanted to do was be a soldier, and that's part of the problem I had for a little while was I wanted to be a soldier and I wanted to go. When you're a soldier, it's like being a football player. You want to play or if what the football that you think of, right? Play in the World Cup, right? Play
Yeah.
in if you're a football player, an American football
I,
player, you
I
want,
I am a lover of soccer and American football.
okay,
So
yeah.
and
So, but
I will tell American football did stole my heart from soccer, but that is another story.
well, if you're an American football player, you want to play in the Super Bowl. So I
Yeah.
wanted to go to combat. I mean, that sounds crazy. It's hard, some people, it's hard to have that conversation because they can't relate at all. But you want to do it. Like that you want to experience it. You want to test yourself. And I had that experience to experience it early on in my life. And the first 10 years of my professional life, I felt like I had no, after that, I had no ambition. What do I want to do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, where you go after
Right.
the yeah.
After
I
accomplishing something that I guess it would be like an Olympic athlete who goes off and gets a gold medal at age 19 or 20 or 25 even, what do you do next, right? And so that you trained your whole life for that and then you accomplish it. And that's kind of how I felt. And so for
It's kind
me,
of it's kind of I have been talking about this like for achievers than this majority of people I have. It's kind of like you're when you arrive to what you always did want, it doesn't have, or at least for me, and I'm going to talk, it's like a little bit like where is the firework?
yeah,
And as well, like the beautiful part was all the journey.
it's the
Now I
journey.
have it. What is next? And there is certain things like there is no next.
Right. So a
And
lot of my songs are about that. That's a lot of my like the most interesting songs I think I wrote when I look at the ones I've written is are not about the journey. It's the fact that at the end, looking back and realizing, this is what it's done, right? Having that perspective, the song once you've been there. I mean, it's all about a life-changing perspective, life-changing experiences that changes your perspective about the world forever, right? And that's to me, that's a looking back, view and not really about the actual experiences. And so it's much more relatable. But to me, that's what it was always about, was trying to find that next challenge. Like, and the way I found it was putting all the bad stuff in a box on a shelf and closing the closet door and walking away and looking for the next thing. And for me, it was okay, become a lawyer and just become the best lawyer you can be. Learn as much as you can. That competitive spirit comes out, and before you know it, you're focused on that, right? And for
did you
me, it
went to
was
court? But you were a
no, I
lawyer?
wasn't that type of lawyer, but I
No,
deal
no,
with
no,
litigation, right?
no.
I go ahead.
I was wondering because you were, must be, if you did went to court, it must be very interesting.
No, I'm not a courtroom lawyer, but dealing with litigation and solving litigation is actually, I find it better not being a litigator, right? Because you're so engaged in the fight, right? You're so committed to the fight, right? That you have to be a deal
I was
maker.
wondering that. I was
Yeah.
wondering
I'm
that.
more of a deal maker, even though I can be quite
Problem
stern.
solver, a deal
Right.
maker. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I have a very personal question, then you
Hmm.
answer me if you want.
Hmm.
If not, we just skip.
Hmm.
You said you were married, at
Hmm.
least when you, at least in that moment.
Hmm.
How was for your wife?
Hmm. Well, we've been married for 30, what's the year? 2026. We've been
You
married for
are still
30,
together?
yes, 36 years. We were college
Congratulations.
sweethearts. She's the love of my life. She's my partner. Marriage isn't easy. There's certainly some bad days there, but she's been by my
No.
side throughout. And matter of fact, one of my songs was a poem I wrote for her. A song I wrote for her, "All for Your Love." I'm releasing that on Spotify next month on her birthday. So, but that one is, you know it's funny because to me it's a love song, and other people who listen to it, it's not the typical romantic love song because it's more about how everything I've done in life I really have just done for her in my mind, right? And that's even though I really didn't have to do all those things, right? And but that's how you frame it when you're going through tough times. I have to honor my wife's loyalty to me, by following through and doing what I'm doing. If I'm going to be away from her and away from the family and she's sitting stuck at home with the kids, I better
Oh,
make
you
it.
have kids as well.
Yes,
I
we
was
have
going there.
three kids, three children. They're all adults now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that to me is the purpose. I never really had doing this discussion and coming out and even putting my name behind my music, even though I
Hmm.
use GarryOwen lyrics. There's a reason for that. who wants to hear from Matt Weingast, right? That name isn't very interesting, right? But Gary Owen lyrics, even that is kind of, this journey has been a journey for me. An executive coach who encouraged me about the same time that I was going back into my songwriting to put myself out there more, right?
Hmm.
And it's because as an officer in the military, this is awkward to me, right? And that's one of the things I avoid the podcasts or the discussions where they want to hear about the war stories. Because for me, those war stories are, yes, I have my view and my perspective, and I had my experiences, but the stories are somebody else's stories because the soldiers are the ones who bore the brunt of that in every case, right? And so it's their story. And the second thing is, I don't think it's appropriate for an officer to be attracting attention to him or herself because for that reason, right? They get all the credit. The fact that I got home and got to live my life, that's the bonus time. That's my reward. My song is all about that. No treasure, no crown, right? You don't get any of that stuff. That's a line in the song. But but for me to even have a conversation that attracts attention to myself in a way that it's uncomfortable. But my
I can
coach,
feel, I can
yeah,
feel, I can feel.
but my coach
So,
wanted me to push myself, and I did. And it was at
and
the same time
well
that I was,
done.
yeah, the same time that this songwriting journey began, kind of, reemerged because it's
It's
all
very
about
healing, no? Yeah,
it's it,
I
that's
found,
why I
I
started
found,
it was for I didn't start the journey with the idea of
oh,
becoming or putting out songs. I started it because I needed to take those boxes down off the shelf
mhm.
and understand why I was carrying so much anger and so much I had, so much of the stuff that I carried, the baggage that I carry. And I had to address it. And I finally had a time in my life where I had something I hadn't had for the rest of my career, which was time, because I left my job. And for me, it was that time also meant that I was thinking a lot of dark stuff, right? So I had to go back
Mhm.
and revisit those boxes. And
Mhm.
that's when I found these songs that I was writing and I decided, okay, well, I always thought I'd put them to music and actually produce them, but I never did. So now it's time to do that. And kind of for my mom, that's the song Good at Getting Up, tells the story of why I did it for my mother, but she passed during that same time period. So for me, that's what it was, but it was never about putting them out for other people to hear. It was for me. But then when
Mhm.
you actually share it with somebody and they have a reaction to it, and some don't, they don't, doesn't, that's fine. But the people who you kind of know will get it, it's like, okay, this has some purpose that's beyond that.
I am going to hijack you right now.
Okay.
Um, I was an international DJ for 12 years. I toured 56 countries. I played EDM and techno,
Mhm.
but I grew up in Africa with a lot of influence of the 70s and 60s. My father did radio, so I grew up with the best music in the world, the
Mm.
80s, and at the
Wow.
same time, Cuban and African, and you name it, because it was a new country. So all the communist countries tried to get on the new country to.
Right.
So I grew up on this mix martial arts of
Hmm.
music. So I adore music. Was very frustrating for me when I became famous and then I gave up and then I love to dance and I love music and I'm very eclectic and I I'm very eclectic and you can get that now and I go from gospel to reggaeton, so yeah, you name it. But I when it was COVID.
Mm.
Oh, point one of the issues of playing techno, especially in Europe, is techno is the most is it's like the hardcore Catholic kind of vibe. You need to dress in a certain in black. I'm dressing black right now. You need to look in a certain way. I was a mom of six and I was an
Wow.
international DJ. That alone was
Yeah.
that is the reason why I do what I do is I
Hmm.
figure out then okay, what is the viral part of the story, then we can, and I'm really good at that.
Hmm.
But I'm going to share something with you, and it's very personal, and it's something that I was very ashamed for many years, but I think you are going to understand me. 5 years ago, exactly now, I was for 7 years married with a great father, not necessarily a great husband.
Hmm.
Let's drop it like that. And my possibility, we had a blended family.
Hmm.
And we had, so all my kids are adults right now, including my stepson. But I had a girl, I had a daughter. And I did need, or it was not by purpose. I came to Mexico to evaluate for us to live here because living in Europe was costing me, and I was the only person working. And I realized I was free and I did not need to go back. And it's a very terrible thing to say in that way, but for 4 years I punished myself
Mm.
very terribly for what I did
Mm.
without understanding then was I could bring my children, but I was going to break the family and they did not want to come. And she was small, and that was the kind that's it's a long story.
No,
But
I get it though.
her father, it's not someone that I did want to drag on courts with the kids. In
Hmm.
the meantime, he disappeared with her. So for
Mm.
3 years, I don't know where she is.
Mm.
But I talked with three of my kids right now, and I made music for them. And 3 days ago, 4 days ago, oh, and his stepson, my stepson, then I always tell them it's not from my belly, it's from my heart, because he always felt like off because everyone was my kids, and I always told, I did not choose them, I choose you, like they
Hmm.
came.
Hmm.
But I fight with his mom for many, many years because his mom had a problem with my ex-husband, what makes a lot of sense. And she ran away with him. So, and there is a higher convention. And I was the one in court fighting, and I brought him back, and she ran away. And it's like a full Hollywood movie,
Mm.
Interpol, you name it. And I
Mm.
brought him back. And I finished by going away from home and never return and losing my children as well.
Mm.
So my song is oh, and I 1 year and a half I reached out to her and we became friends.
That's good.
And we are helping each other, and we finally figure out where part of them are. Then they run away again. But the other day I did a song about parental alienation,
Mm.
and love always wins.
Mm.
And he talks about that. And sorry for the long thing,
No, that's
but
okay.
I just believe then now making music is as well. Oh, and I make music and I sign with the names of my children.
Mm.
So if they can Google it one day, or and they can find the message, then they believe their mom is not sending to them,
Mm.
but their mom have many ways to arrive to them. I never did want to drag them on the internet because I saw what could do to them, and
Yeah, for
so I did
sure.
not want to play that dirty game because it's a dirty game, it doesn't take anywhere. And so I understand you.
Mm. Yeah.
Is it's
Yeah.
on the end, what I did want to tell is I understand you very well.
Well, thank you.
I I I was sick for 3 days after making that song,
Yeah.
and I just believed in I'm free because finally I'm not ashamed anymore to tell. Then yes, I did it. I cannot tell because my daughter is 11. I
Yeah.
cannot tell what was going on. Um, be, and but I just want to tell, then she's always on my mind.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's very hard. That's yeah. But that's my experience with songwriting as well, is that my journey, I never intended to really become what it is, but it's already achieved. Like some people might say, Matt, I'm not a performer, right? I mean, I think you figured that out. Like I'm not a performer. I can't sing worth a crap. And I'm not good enough at my guitar to be a performer. I'm just not. So I just write the songs. But you've got um a lot of people who think like I'm never going to be a star. I don't want to be a star. It's not what I'm looking for, right? So why am I doing this? That and some people
You
think,
know why. You
you
don't,
have a couple, right?
it's
That's
very
right. It doesn't
difficult.
matter what other people think,
It's
right?
very difficult to explain to
Correct.
people.
Right.
Well, I didn't, I know exactly, for example, like
Right.
technically making music before was requesting a lot of skills and things that we can access
Right.
really fast. I have obviously 25 years of music,
Right.
but I still make music on my computer, and
Right.
AI is fantastic to make music.
Yeah. Well,
So
I've avoided that.
I am very
I'm working with artists. Sometimes it costs me money. Sometimes they do it for deals, but I work with artists because they have the talent. So I want to put live music out there, but AI has its place, I think, which is a very controversial thing to
I'm
say,
very
but
focused. What is really important for me is the design, is the piece. You can make art with any single thing.
right.
I am a writer, so not that I ever write a book, and I don't believe. I always tell that it's more easy to undress for Playboy than write a book about my life. Like that's totally different things.
Right.
And but the lyrics is the gold mine.
Right.
And even when I went through totally different, totally stalking, abusive ex divorce, I was quiet for that. I never did reply because I know how to manage narcissists.
Right.
But I did a song.
Right.
And
Right.
the yeah, he say car sorry for swearing.
It's okay.
Karma is a bitch and you fuck with the wrong witch. It's basic the same. So
Yeah.
it was the only thing I said, and
Right.
I said in the music as well. To be honest, there is four versions of the same song in different language. But say you call me crazy when I start waking up. You call me fat when I start to shine. You call,
Right.
so it's about all of that. So, but if you give so much negativity to someone who did love you so much, what you are expecting then come back to you.
Yeah.
And so music. What is the next one?
Well, I don't know. For me, I'm gonna release a couple of the songs that I have already produced, and then keep going on with it. I'm trying to pitch it for sync music since all my music is live, no AI. In the sync world, you can't have any AI in your music, so
Mhm.
as you probably know. But that's somebody asked me the other day on one of these, do I consider myself have having achieved my goal for songwriting? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I don't. When I first did this, I didn't think five people would listen, but a couple thousand or thousands have, and that's incredibly moving. It's just very cool that somebody else is relating to a song and in their own way, right? And that's all that matters, right? So it would be pretty cool to try and find a sync opportunity for some of my music. I think there's opportunities for it, and I've had some positive
I was going
feedback.
to ask you that because I
Yeah,
work with a lot of musicians around the world,
right,
and I
right.
work with a lot of audience. And I'm wondering, because of your story, and I know then is a very, and I always tell my people, then this is your playground, is not my popcorn machine of ideas is only what it is.
Right.
I get really excited, in special because of the contrasts
Hmm.
in what you represent,
Right.
but your story and your music. is something then for sure I know my audience will love to know or to listen after this podcast. I have an idea, but I'll tell you on off.
Okay.
So if someone wants to reach out to you, we will have all the links, obviously.
Hmm.
But a message to your younger self.
A message to my younger self. Yeah, that's a great question. And I think my answer is my younger self, you know, was that, you know, guy who wanted to be a soldier, wanted to go off and do it. Very idealistic. I believed that if my country told me to go do something, it was
The best.
worthwhile. Do it the best I can and do an honorable job. And that was, kind of the extent of how I saw the world. And probably had a very clear view of a very black and white view of the world. My
Mhm.
message to my younger self would be, you have to accept the grays. There's a lot of gray. Um, that good people do bad things. Bad people can appear good. Um, it's just not as straightforward as it is, but that doesn't mean you should change anything about what your purpose is, what your intentions are, and what your beliefs are. Just keep that in mind, and you'll probably save yourself a lot of heartache. Um, as for boxing things up, I think the what I would say to him is maybe talk to some experts about it because it's okay, I think, to box them up. You have to at times. You have to move on. You have to be able to put in a box and walk away and move on with your life, your career, your family, whatever it is you have to do. But you probably do need to at some point check in on those boxes and understand what they did to you, with you, the burdens that you carry. That would be the message from my younger self. Maybe he'd figure it out a little sooner than I did.
Thank you so much.
Sure. This was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I am going to say bye to these people, bye to you properly in 1 second. To you watching, listen. um, how beautiful it is when we can touch different parts of the world in the soul and be the same person, living different realities and
Yeah.
existing. Um, keep living your dream and make it happen. My name is Ana Rita Valente, and this is, I will tell, being legendary.
Being
Thank you
legendary. I
so
like it.
much.
All righty. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.